And welcome to our newspaper review segment. Joseph Akable joins me via Zoom as we do this. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mama V.
Yeah, you good?
Not bad. It's another morning. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Virtually, I might say.
Good to see you too. All right, so what papers are you going through, Joseph?
I'll be doing the Ghanaian Times. I'll also do the front page of the Daily Guide, and I'll end with that of the Daily Dispatch front page.
Okay. Why don't you start for us, Joe, then?
So let me start from the front page of the Daily Guide this morning. The Daily Guide reports that Dampare is IGP, Egyir for prisons, and Ghana's economic recovery underway. That is coming from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. NDC officers want Techiman South case dropped, and government releases about 300 million cedis for the free senior high school program. And Dr. Felix Anyang wins Millennium Excellence Award in medicine, also on the front page of the Daily Guide. In terms of the center spread, there is some story about Sarkodie partners added us to drive Africa's creative economy, and Faith tips economy to grow fastest also in there. Yeah, we can on to the front page of the Daily Dispatch. The Daily Dispatch is reporting this morning from constable in 1990, that is at age 20, to IGP in 2021 at 51 years. And it's a story related to Akufo Dampare, who is the new IGP. And Ghana's national security strategy details on page 3 of the Dispatch. Kandapa is best to account for president's foreign trips, is from Ofuriata. And Bawumia is an asset, can help NPP win in 2024. It's Kojo Opoko who is speaking there. We can undo the front page of the Ghanaian Times now. The Ghanaian Times reports, I don't account for presidential travels, is from Ken Ofuriata, the finance minister. President appoints Dr. Dampare as acting IGP. Court awards 1 million cost against 37 military hospital, and Pun Katamanso bans consumption of pork due to swine fever outbreak. It's also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. In terms of its page 16 and 17, the center spread, I don't account for presidential travels. Details of that story can be found in there. And the Greater Accra Regional Minister solicits for support for Operation Clean Your Frontage bylaw. It's also on page 16 and 17 of the Ghanaian Times. That will be it for me, Mama V.
Let's do the Daily Guide newspaper, and there's a story that's been making rounds yesterday. It's about the 37 military hospital being slapped with a little over 1 million Ghana cedis over patient deaths. It's details of what happened in the hospital back in 2015, leading to the death of a wife, a mother, and a daughter, really. That is absolutely heartbreaking. Not even this figure by way of the amounts can console anybody. I'll share details of that with you. It's good news, actually, even though the circumstances is not good. It can't bring her back, certainly cannot console them. And it's also left with a child with a deformity, which cannot be repaired, really. Not by the figure that's been given, but it's good news. Finance Minister swerves Parliament, and swerve is in quote, because as you know, when he went to Parliament, he said, well, it wasn't his domain, apparently. Was it just like one sentence to settle the score? Bost saves $24 million in payments to BDCs. And Joseph, you hit on it. It was our first story in the news as well. Dampare, Egyir, head police and prisons. The changes in the Ghana Police Service and the prison service. Let's turn attention to the center spread. 14 million identified as eligible taxpayers after TIN's exercise. Let's enforce COVID-19 safety protocol. That's the Ghana Health Service making this call, calling for strict enforcement of the safety protocols where appropriate, so as to help deal with the increasing number of cases, especially the Delta variant of the disease in the country. And then a 3-day conference to showcase new scientific knowledge and novel applications of technology, which will lead to the development of new disease diagnostic tools, drugs, and vaccines, has opened here in Accra. On the back page, the rehabilitation of the spillway channel and ancillary works of the Tono irrigation scheme in the Kasina Nankana municipality in the Upper East region is 85% complete. Updates on the projects is what's captured on the back page. And the anti-human trafficking unit of the Ghana Police Service has raised an alarm over supposed organ harvesting syndicates that may lure members of the public abroad for illegal organ harvesting. So the head of the unit, Chief Superintendent Mike Barr, said there were syndicates that sought to lure unsuspecting victims abroad with juicy job offers and deals, and urged Ghanaians to be alert and careful to avoid falling victims. That's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper. Let's do the New Independent newspaper next. On the front page of the New Independent newspaper, after admitting he breached constitution in Sputnik vaccine agreement, Health Minister to face courts, NDC MP's hints. The search to fill top post in the Ghana Police Service, Dampare is the man, emerges tops to replace retiring Opon as IGP. Another alleged military police brutality saga in the Ashanti region, regional minister fingered as the mastermind of invasion. And IMF commends Ghana for encouraging signs of economic recovery amidst COVID-19 pandemic. That's what's on the front page of the New Independent newspaper by way of their headlines. Let's do the Business and Financial Times. Next on the front page, pension funds increase participation in equities market. Analyst calls for cautious optimism in the short term, suggests guided minimum threshold would aid growth. IMF projects debt to hit 83% of GDP end of year, 14 million registered taxpayers, only 6 million file returns. And why are remittances to emerging market growing? Question. They've got the answers in the inside pages. DBG to pledge 158 billion Ghana cedis manufacturing service financing gap. That's according to the finance minister. You can check out lots more business and financial stories in the Business and Financial newspaper today. My last paper is also a business newspaper. It's the Business Finder. On the front page, economic outlook promising. Ongoing digitization is key to post-COVID-19 recovery, according to the IMF. GCB Bank voted Financial Business of the Decade. No rules, regulations will be infringed upon. That's the new NPA boss given that assurance. So I guess by way of headlines, that will be it. Joseph, where would you want to start?
I thought we'll start from the 37 military hospital.
Okay, absolutely.
I actually have a copy of the judgment, which I was just looking through it. I mean, very, very interesting decision from Justice Akati Boafo, who is at the General Jurisdiction Division of the High Court. I mean, this is a mother who, at the time, was a PhD student, actually, at the University of Ghana, the biology department, and was pregnant and had to deliver. And so had high blood pressure as a result of the pregnancy-induced high blood pressure. So was taken to the hospital where there was discussions about the birth procedure, and she had indicated that she wanted to be delivered via a cesarean section, and the doctors rather opted to do the labor-induced one, the vaginal delivery, as it is called in some instances. That's happened, and we are that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, which is strange, really, because often, you know, people would actually be convinced to do the cesarean. There are many women who would say, no, they want to do the vaginal birth, and sometimes doctors have to struggle to explain to them why they think that would not be an option in certain situations, but this is the other way. Go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was carried out eventually, and that is the labor-induced one. Then we are told that After the procedure, she was bleeding profusely. She was left unattended to, and eventually rushed to the theater where she died, and the child was born with a bit of a deformity on the hand. And the interesting thing is that the husband is actually a staff of the hospital, was working as a physiotherapist at the 37 military hospital. And so, together with the father of the wife, he decided to pursue this particular action.
And the father, Joseph, before you continue, it's interesting you brought the husband, but the father is also a captain. Also, yeah, you know, worked within the Ghana Armed Forces, and this is their hospital. So it's not like strangers, you know, trying to find attention in the facility.
Absolutely. And so these are people who are very familiar with the hospital, but they decided to take action at it. And I just want to read portions of what the court found after it analyzed the evidence. The judge said that based on all the evidence, the court's simple reaction to the last case, the plaintiff did not need to call further evidence. Own witnesses who are experts in the field considered to their errors with the plaintiff's counsel in cross-examination. Indeed, as ably demonstrated in this judgment, hospital certainly fell short of the basic standards required of skilled doctors. As the authorities do agree, facts of each case should be the sole determinant whether a medical team should be found in this court, points to the irresistible conclusion that this is a direct consequence of the hospital's breach of duty to the deceased and her. In actual sense, they didn't even have to lead evidence. The individuals that were once they were cross-examined, the hospital's own witnesses were cross-examined. The court said that it was obvious that breach of the duty of care, that they owed to slap the various damages that you've already.
Well, you know, an apology that we're just experiencing some breaks, intermittent breaks, and that sound of Joseph Akable. Joseph, slap the network, get back.
The network is breaching the duty of care it owes me. Is that better now?
It is. Whatever you did, stay.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, we find ourselves in a situation where Fama Nyame is often the refrain. I mean, and it's interesting. Looking through the case itself, you realize that the court didn't even have a lot of local examples to even rely on in terms of to reach its conclusion, because it's not a path that is often pursued. But quite recently, especially at 37 military hospital, we've seen a number of cases in this regard that have been filed against.
Yeah, Joseph, I think there's a pending one as well. Can't remember all the details right now. But I just also wanted to, whilst we work on that network of yours, Joseph Akable, because it just suddenly went off again, I wanted to share details of the damages awarded. Damage cost of 400,000 Ghana cedis each was awarded to the deceased father and husband. They both brought the action for loss of expectations of life. There's also 50,000 Ghana cedis for mental distress, 100,000 Ghana cedis to the baby for a deformity caused to his right arm as a result of the medical negligence, 50,000 Ghana cedis for pain, 50,000 Ghana cedis to the deceased father for primary care given to the child, and 25,000 Ghana cedis for plaintiff's costs against the defendants. Good job by the court. I did indicate not even $1 million, 2, 5, 10, whatever figure will bring a dead person back. But we hope that at least the fact that they found justice as well will bring them some form of closure to them. Joseph, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can now. Is there anything more you want to say on this case before we close it?
I mean, just the point about the damages, and I agree with you that even our own Thomas Partey and the rest, they earn human beings, and if you lose a life, I mean, no matter the amount, you can never be compensated for it. But what is important is that the hospital.
Okay, Joseph, now you need to reposition yourself so we can have a free flow in this conversation and in the review. So while Joseph adjusts his desk wherever that network is, let me share a bit of this story on page 20 in the Daily Graphic newspaper about the finance minister swerving Parliament. It says, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, has told Parliament that the best institution to furnish the House with details on the cost of the President's recent official travels outside the country is the Office of the National Security. So it turns out that he was not the right person to answer the question of how much it cost the President in the trip that's become controversial. So he said, due to national security implications, the air travel for the President, including the costs for the advanced team, flight arrangements, security accommodation, and air tickets were coordinated operationally between the Office of Government Machinery and the National Security Secretariat. He said, in line with the 2021 budget implementation instructions, the Ministry of Finance did not release any funds to the Chief of Staff specifically for the President's trip to France, Belgium, and South Africa. Okay, now, there's also a little bit of controversy because it was revealed by the Member of Parliament who first brought this issue up, Okudzeto Ablakwa. Now, the Finance Minister had apparently gave an indication that he needed more time to answer the question. And then he comes back after giving them more time, only to tell Parliament this. But we've heard from the majority side, they say, no, nothing of the sort happened. He didn't ask for any extension of time. So you see, when it comes to the two sides, there is always a controversy. I don't know how this one will be resolved, but there's always the records of Parliament, right? So we can check. Joseph, have you done the checks? Do we know if Finance Minister asked for more time or not?
I mean, there was a date that he was supposed to show up. There was a date that he was supposed to show up in Parliament, and we had indicated he couldn't show up on that particular day, and so it was announced he was going to come on a different occasion. I don't know whether that constitutes a formal request for extra time by him, but the fact of the matter is that he did not show up on a day that he was slated to go before Parliament, and he was subsequently asked to come back on a different day.
Yeah. So how does this answer? It means that this issue is still pending, isn't it? We still don't know how much it costs the presidency.
Really
But couldn't the question, if they had directed it, just called on the Chief of Staff, this would have ended, right?
The problem really is whether the Chief of Staff can be dragged in that form of a direct manner. You know, she's not a Minister of State per se in that regard. But I think the point really is that this is information that if the Finance Minister was minded to provide, I think he should be in a position to provide it. I think we do not need to have a formal parliamentary sitting. We are talking about the machinery of a state. An MP is gathering, be seated to just hear the response that I don't have the answer. I don't think that is judicious use of Parliament's time. To find it. And again, the response that has come relative to the point that the Minister for National Security has those answers. I see a situation where if any attempt is made to call upon him, you know what the response will be. It's a national security matter and we can't disclose.
On the issue of the Chief of Staff, I think there's precedent, isn't it? I remember there's a former Chief of Staff who's been to Parliament to answer questions. I'm not sure, I've got to cross-check that. Well, somebody will ask, will this put bread and butter on our table? Whether or not this question is answered. But Ghanaians want to know. Some Ghanaians want to know, don't they? All right, so we'll leave this matter and... Joseph is saying something?
Yeah, I was saying that you were asking about whether to put bread on the table, and I'm saying that it will afford we, the taxpayers, opportunities to know whether our resources are being used judiciously by way of the president's travel.
Okay, we're here. So we'll wait to see if a question will be put for the National Security Minister to come before Parliament to answer this pending question. Joseph, you look through the Ghanaian Times. There's a story on page 3 about a 31-year-old nurse of the Zebela Hospital in the Boko West district of the Upper East region who has been killed by suspected armed robbers on the Bolgatanga-Zibala Road in the early hours of Tuesday. Very, very tragic. Usually when things happen to people, the hospital is the first point of call. This is a hospital staff that's been at the center of this. There's a picture of the late Pumi on page 3. Absolutely tragic. And then still on page 3, Chief Inspector Victoria Ntoa of the Fijiase police station has been found dead in her car on Tuesday at Asokore, Kobiso in the Eastern region. She was found dead in her vehicle. Details of the vehicle given, and there's no information about who was driving the vehicle. According to the report, police Chief Inspector Ishmael Stanley Egyir and 3 men went to the scene following reports about the death of policewoman. So same day, Tuesday, when Pumi was killed by these suspected armed robbers, there was a policewoman who was also found in her car dead. So these incidents are being investigated by the police. All right, Joseph, is there a story you want to highlight before we do my JoyOnline.com?
The appointment of Dr. George Dampare as the IGP is what has got people equally talking. I mean, I don't know what your own thoughts are on this appointment.
Oh, Dr. Dampare is such a nice person. I think he's, we will all call him our friend. We wish him well, except that I've heard some people say that could the timing be right? This appointment should have come in way earlier. I've heard people say that, but I haven't done the analysis myself. I just know that he's a fine gentleman, and he's probably been preparing for this position for a long time. So he will hit the ground running.
I think every single IGP appointment since 2017, his name has come up as a possible IGP, and so it's no surprise that he's coming. He comes into the job with a lot of public goodwill. Like you say, he's a nice man. A lot of people like him, and they see him as someone who is very smart, very intelligent. He's a real definition of a modern policeman as opposed to the aspects of policing that we knew in the past. So what we expect from him is a modern police service, respect for human rights, and one that uses technology and goes all out to gather intelligence properly to figure out crimes, among other things. I mean, it cannot be business as usual. It's high expectations, and we expect him to succeed.
But as we've also come to learn, it's not a one-man effort. It's always team. So I really do pray that the team that he is either forming or meeting will be one that can, you know, go according to what he plans to do. But we certainly wish him well. He's a good man, and it is our prayer that he succeeds.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's do my JoyOnline.com. We will discover that the special prosecutor nominee will be vetted today, Joseph. This is certainly live coverage. All eyes, ears will be with Parliament's Appointment Committee as they vet this man, Kisi Ejabeng. There's been lots of conversations. Some say he's too young to occupy this position, first occupied by Martin Amidu. Joseph, what would you be looking out for?
Top of your head, do you know his actual specific age?
I think he's 42, 3.
Okay, so he's in, I think he's around that age. I mean, well, really, you see, the requirements of the position as provided by law are things that he will be able to meet. It's the question about whether he possesses the character and the independence of mind to be a special prosecutor. You know, a special prosecutor, like it happens in other jurisdictions, it's a big deal. There are no-nonsense people who cannot be controlled by anyone. I mean, cast in the mode of Martin Amidu, typically. People who will do what they want to do, will say what they want to say. They do not care how it means or how it affects the appointing authority. Those are the aspects of his competency that I cannot speak to. But what I can speak to is that he's certainly a brilliant legal brain. He's a fantastic lawyer who will meet the requirements on paper. It's the other aspects that I do not have a reason to be able to confirm or deny.
Well, hopefully the members on the Appointments Committee will help us appreciate all the other sides of him so we can all make up our minds. Stay here on Joy News as we bring you live coverage of that. Joseph, This is it. Thank you very much for your time. But work on that internet. What network do you use so that we can tell them that we don't want any breaks tomorrow, God willing?
They've already assured me, so no need to name them.
Joseph Akablay joining me for us to bring you the review. Thanks, Joseph. Have a lovely day today. Stay with us. We'll bring you sports, after which we will do AM Talk. We're talking about the new police appointments, the acting IGP, the changes to the police service. We're talking about the vetting of Mr. Kisi Ejabing as special prosecutor. And we're talking COVID, all coming up on AM Talk after sports. Stay with us.